Okay, everybody, this is number 2. This is the second video. This is probably going to be the longest one because I've got 4 different things to kind of work through with you, but it's okay. I'll try to go fast. Again, you're welcome to use these squares. I am not planning to. Okay, I can, well, let's see. I can kind of show you over here. Okay, and I'll kind of show you how I would do it on this one. So if I was going to use this square, what I would start with is actually putting in my negative 18 right here. Okay, negative 18 goes right there. And to get x squared goes right here. To get x squared, you've got to have, oh, sorry. There we go. Okay, to get x squared right here, you've got to have an x and an x. And then somehow between these two, we have to get 7. We've got to get 7x, okay? But somehow that's got to multiply to negative 18. So we're going to end up doing the exact same thing that I've told you all along, where we've got to split this guy up into factors and figure out what two numbers will add up to 7, okay? So, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to do this way. It's just so specific. You can't really do it very easily with any of the rest of these without lots of guessing and checking. So I'm just going to teach you the right, well, at least what I feel like is the right way. A right way. I guess this is fine if you want to guess and check forever. But okay. The technique is to just simply go a times c, okay, which in this case is 1 times negative 18, which is negative 18. Okay, going to factor that out. 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. 4 does not go into 18, 5 does not go in, 6 would be back around. Okay, so then I've got to have a pair of these that will add up somehow to 7. To get a negative right here, one of these numbers has to be positive and one has to be negative, and it can be positive negative or negative positive. Okay, but we do want to end up with a positive 7 over here. So what I'm kind of seeing is that there is 7 between 9 and 2. They will multiply to get to 18, but we've got to get a negative 18, so one of these numbers has to be a negative, and we want this to end up being a positive 7. So I need to have more positives than I have negatives, so I'm going to make the negative the 2. Okay, and so then you would rewrite this and go x squared. Oh, actually, you know what? When a is 1, once you get to this point, if a is 1, you can simply put your parentheses down. So f of x is equal to, and then parentheses. This only works when a is 1 that you can do this, but you just simply write x and x, okay? And then you're going to take each of these and put them in. Whoops, that is not what I wanted to say. Positive 9, negative 2, like that. Okay, and this will end up being this, okay? And so this is done now. Okay, let's skip down to this one down here because it's going to be like this, only there is one more step. You have to factor by grouping. When a is 1, you don't usually have to factor by grouping, okay? But down here, you're going to have to factor by grouping. And you're going to look at this, and the first thing you're going to look at is, can I take anything out of this all the way across? So can I factor something out of 3 and 2 and 8? And the answer is no. 2 and 8 are both, they're both even numbers, and 2 is a prime number. 3 is also a prime number, and you cannot factor anything out of all 3 of those. X's, you can't factor an x out because there's no x on this 8. Okay, so there's no factoring allowed on this one. For like pulling out a greatest common factor. But what we can do is the same thing that we did up here. You just go a times c. This just works on every single trinomial you can do this with. Okay, and you can go a is 3 times negative 8, which is what, negative 24. Okay, I'm going to factor this guy out. We're going to end up with 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. 5 doesn't go into 24, 6 and 4 goes back around. Okay, and then we are looking for one again that can multiply to negative 24 and add to the middle term, so add to negative 2. So I've got to find one that's got like 2 away from each other, so this one will be good. I've got to have negative 2 left over once we finish this, so I'm going to put a negative on the 6 so that it's bigger, and there will be positive 4x and negative 6x. Okay, so we're going to go like this and write down, okay, we're going to write down the same equation again. So f of x is equal to 3x squared, but now I'm going to put in plus 4x minus 6x minus 8. Okay, the 4x and the 6x come from here. Okay, this is the exact same equation as this original equation up here, because if you combine these terms back together again, you end up with negative 2x. Okay, I've just stretched this out in a way that's going to allow me to factor it. So now I'm going to cut this guy in half. This is called factoring by grouping. Okay, and I'm going to pull out, I can't pull anything out of 3 and 4. There's nothing that will commonly factor out of those, but there is an x that I can pull out of both of those terms. So I'm going to pull out x, and I'm going to pull out x of each of these, which means you're going to divide by x. Okay, one of these x's goes away, so it's just x instead of x squared, and you end up with 3x left over plus 4. Okay, and then over here, I'm going to take a negative 2 out. You can take a 2 out of both of those terms. So, let's see. Let me write that a little bit lower so that it's down here, closer down here. Negative 2 I'm going to factor out. And if I take a negative 2 out of negative 6x, I end up with these guys cancel, and these guys turn into 3x. Divided by negative 2, the negatives cancel, and I end up with 4 plus 4. Okay, and if I've done this right, this term in parentheses and this term in parentheses should be the exact same. Okay, and the cool thing is that if you've done it right, it will always work out that way. Even if you switch the order that you write, like if you were to write negative 6x first and then positive 4x, it will still turn out right, which is really cool. And so you're going to go, and I'm going to factor out 3x plus 4 out of both of these terms now. 3x plus 4 is factored out, which means I'm going to divide this term by 3x plus 4. I'm going to divide this term by 3x plus 4. Okay, these guys cancel, and all that's left is my x and my negative 2. Okay, and that is the answer to that problem. Okay. There might be other ways to do this. Oh, don't forget your f of x. There might be other ways to do this, but this is the easiest way that I know how to do this. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to do the whole thing one more time, and I'm going to do it super fast without talking. And I want to show you how fast this is and how easy this is, okay? A times c. Okay. Okay, I'm going to find something that's negative 2. I'm going to go like that, make this one negative. Okay, rewrite. Divide it in half, pull out my x. Okay. Okay, and that's your answer. Okay, so it only takes a couple of seconds to, just a few seconds to do one, even this most complicated kind. Just take your time and be careful. So let's do another example of this kind up here on my open math. Let me see if I can find one that's like that. Yeah, this one's awesome. Okay, let's see, that one's just asking what form it's in. Okay, let's see. Let's do this. Let's see, that one's got a equals 1. A equals 1. Oh, I don't have any that are like that. This one's different because you can factor out a 4 out of each of the terms. So that one's a little bit different. I'd have to find as a different example, but that's okay. Okay, alrighty. Okay. Yeah. All right, we'll call that good for that one. Let's keep going. This one is our special situation. This is called a difference of squares, where there is a perfect square here and a perfect square here, and a difference, a negative right in between. Okay, it's a subtraction, which is just, that's why it's called difference of squares. You're subtracting. Okay, and you can identify these pretty easily because there will not be that center term. It's still in standard form. Okay, it's in the ax squared plus bx plus c, but it only has ax squared and c. It doesn't have that b term, and that's because of the numbers that it is. So I'm going to just show you the quick and easy way to do this. Whenever you have this kind of situation where you don't have those center terms, you can simply start with parentheses like this, and you can, I better show you another example after this too, because there is one other situation where you might have to do some greatest common factor first, and I'll show you how to do that part. Okay, so you take the x squared and you square root it. Square root of x squared is x. Okay, it's actually plus or minus x, but we're going to go x and put x in both of those. You take the 36 and you square root that. 36 square root is equal to 6. Okay, and you put a plus here and a minus there, and that's all you have to do. That's the whole thing. That's factored form. Okay, if you were to take this thing and put it back together again, if you were to FOIL this back out and go first x squared, outsides negative 6x, insides positive 6x, lasts negative 36. Okay, these guys end up canceling each other out, and you end up with x squared minus 36, which, you know, is where we started from. Okay, but this is the factored form, and it's so easy. So one more time, let's do that one more time. Do that one more time. All I do is when I see this format, I write down f of x first so that I don't forget it, and put my two parentheses sets, put my x's in right here, put my square root of 36 in right here, do a plus here, minus there, and I'm done. Okay, that's it for that one. All right, this is the last one of this set of 4. We've got 2x squared plus 18x plus 40, and the first thing that you have to do on this one is you've got to pull out a greatest common factor. Okay, over here, remember there are lots of numbers over here. A is not 1, it's 3, but you can't factor anything out of that, so you just start factoring by grouping. On this one, we're going to pull a 2 out, because you can pull a 2 out of each of these. So I'm going to pull a 2 out and rewrite this guy. Just don't forget that you've got to take a 2 out of this and a 2 out of this also. Okay, so I'm going to divide each of these terms by 2. If you divide each of these terms by 2, you end up with x squared plus 9x plus 20. And now I'm going to do a times c, which a is 1, c is 20, and I'm going to use 20 as my factoring term. 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 3 doesn't go in, 4 times 5, and then 5 times 4 goes back around. Okay, and I'm looking for some numbers that will multiply to 20, positive 20, and give me a positive 9. Okay, and I can see it already right there. 4 times 5 is 20, 4 plus 5 is 9. Okay, so then you can literally just go like this and do f of x. And since we're factoring, you don't have to distribute your 2 back through. You actually want to keep it out. Okay, but you're going to put some parentheses down, and you can go, because now this part right here has an a equals 1. Just like this one, where you can just put your parentheses down without having to do factoring by grouping. You can just write your x right here, and do positive 4, positive 5. That's it, and that's your whole answer right here. Okay. Just don't forget that 2 that has to sit out on the outside, okay? Alrighty, that's that. Let me see what other examples I have on my open math for the factoring parts. So here's one more. And that is 4x squared minus 4x minus 24, and this would be very similar to what we just did. We would do p of x is equal to 4, and pull the 4 out. X squared minus x, got to pull a 4 out of 4x, minus, and then pulling a 4 out of this gives you 6. Okay, and so then you're going to take and go a, which is 1, times c, which is 6, or negative 6, so negative 6 is what we're going to factor. 1 times 6, 2 times 3, 3 times 2, and then we're back around. Okay, so one of these sets has to help us to add to -1 and multiply to -6. Okay, we've got to have one of these be a negative, one a positive to get this to be negative, and I need a negative x to end up at the end, so I'm going to have a -3 and a +2. That will leave me one negative x. So now I'm going to rewrite this guy. P of x is equal to 4. Keep your 4. Put your parentheses down. X here, +2, -3. Then you're done. Okay? We can try typing this in and make sure that this is what they're looking for. Actually, we can just check because this is the teacher edition. I can just check it. 4x minus 3x plus 2. Beautiful. Okay. All right. That's it. All right. I'm done with you. That's the second standard. If you can do this one, and I'm going to put together a couple of extra questions that will demonstrate all three of those types of questions. And I'm going to have you guys do those ones for a retest. Okay. All right.